All right. Welcome back to the Branson broadcast. Today, we're going to get to the good stuff, which, of course, is the text of the Bible. I mean, it's the whole basis of my worldview. So that's really, for me, it's kind of what I've really wanted to do, but I felt it was important to lay the groundwork for, to explain why I didn't think, or why it is clear that evolution is not a viable worldview. And I dealt kind of briefly with the old Earth creationism, theistic evolution, and the gap theory, but I just don't think that they're right. So I didn't really feel like it was necessary to really go into that. You can comment on that video if you want. But today we're going to get, like I said, into the biblical text. And we're going to start with the first 4 words of the Bible. Start at the beginning. Why not? And the first 4 words of the Bible are "in the beginning, God." Most people, I think, are familiar with this phrase, even if they're naturalists, evolutionists, atheists, or just completely non-religious, completely secular. It seems to me like most people have heard this phrase at some point in their life. And what these verses indicate is that the Bible presupposes the existence of God. Evolutionists, when a creationist debates an evolutionist, we like to point out legitimately that we want to know if the material universe, the physical universe, is the only thing that exists. Where did it come from? How did it create itself? So we say, where did the universe come from? And really, the only thing that they can say back is, oh, yeah, well, you believe God created it. Where did God come from? Well, on the one hand, it is a legitimate question, but you have to have a starting point, right? So if the physical universe is the only thing that exists, it had to bring itself into existence. And by the physical laws that the universe has, the laws of thermodynamics and all of these things, it can't exist on its own. It can't come into existence on its own. So some kind of intelligent being had to do it. And that's the whole point of creationists and intelligent design. If you investigate deeply how life exists, then I think it's very clear that an intelligent being created all of that. And that's where the Bible starts. In the beginning, God existed. So for God to bring into existence the universe, well, what did he create? He created space, he created matter, and he created time, right? I did mention these in my first video. If you have space, but no matter and time, you don't really have anything, do you? If you have matter, but no space and no time, where and when do you have it? If you have time, but no space and matter, that doesn't even make any sense. So you need all of these things to exist, to come into existence simultaneously. Now, excuse me, in order for that to happen, the being that does that, he has to be outside of those things. He has to be outside of space, outside of matter, and outside of time. And God is clearly all of those things. He is not limited by space. The universe is 90 billion light years from, in diameter in all directions, as far as we know. But God is even bigger than that. The material, if you look at the videos that I referenced in the second podcast, seeing how all of the atoms and elements and things work together to make us us and life in general, vamos. It's just whack. And so I think it seems to me like God has to be, really paying attention to all of those things, but he's infinite, and so it's no problem for him. But then he also is outside of time. Now, what does that mean to be outside of time? Well, when we think of our lives, I was born here and now I'm here. Uh, how much more is over here is anybody's guess, of course. But the point is, I see my life in a line. And there's a lot of times we say, oh, I wish I could have a time machine and come back to here and change that stupid decision that changed my life forever, right? Something like that. But we can't be here and here at the same time, right? Back to the Future movies notwithstanding, you can't be in two places or two times, excuse me, at once. Just like we can't be in two places at once, but God can. So this has a lot of ramifications, this idea that God is here and every other point in my life and your life and everybody in history, vamos. It also has an impact on the future, because most people know that the Bible at least claims to predict the future in a lot of ways. If you look at the book of Daniel, for example, it has some very, very specific predictions, all of which have come true, I believe, regarding the appearance of Alexander the Great and some things that happened after that. So the idea, therefore, is God really good at predicting the future? Because he knows us. I mean, he understands us completely and thoroughly. So he knows what my decisions are going to be in the future. And so, it's easy for him to predict a lot of things. Well, it is easy. And he does know us completely. But it's important to remember he is outside of time, right? So here's where I started to exist, and here is me now. This part out here, it's not that God can see what's happening or predict what's going to happen. The thing is, he is there now watching me do whatever it is I'm going to be doing in a year. He is there now watching it happen. So there's this one event in my life which I think might serve as an example. About 30 years ago, I was in love, and the thing is, I was living in Wisconsin at the time in the United States, but she was from Spain. Now, we were both in Wisconsin, but she came on a student visa, so she had to go back to Spain, get a fiancé visa, and all of the paperwork that entailed before she could come back, because her student visa was finishing. So she left in May, and we thought, well, the government works a little slow, so it'll probably take a couple of months to get all of the paperwork together and send it over, have it approved, and be back. So we could probably get married in August, September. See? Well, the government doesn't do anything super, super well. So August came and went, September came and went, October came and went, and we're just thinking, dude, they've had the papers for at least 3 months. What's the deal? And then at the beginning, well, it was like the second week of November, one of the women who was helping us do all of these things and was in contact with the deal, she said she got an email from the government that said they had lost my papers, and so I would need to compile them all over again and send them over. Well, big problem because I was living in Wisconsin, which is here, and I was born in Denver, about 1,000 kilometers away, maybe 1,000 miles. I don't know. And to do that online or convince my cousin or aunt to go and find the thing, it was just going to be, I had already done that. And I knew how much trouble it was. And I kind of lost it. Very sorry to the lady who gave me the information. I spoke loudly to her. I didn't think I was yelling at her, but of course you take that personally. And so I said, well, I'm sorry. I'm just mad at the situation. And so I left. And I went home and I started to pray. Always a good thing to do. There's a full stop there. It's always a good thing to pray. When you have a difficulty like this, it's even a better thing to do. Now, I'm not gonna encourage you to do what I did. It wasn't a very humble prayer, to be honest, because, I had already been waiting about 6 months for this thing to get moving. I was separated that whole time from the woman I love, and she was separated from me, and we were like just so frustrated that I went home and I kind of started to yell at God. Like I said, I do not recommend this. But two phrases that I remember from the prayer is that I said, God, you claim to be this omnipotent creator and controller of the universe, but here is this puny human agency, the United States government, this puny agency making you look like a fool. I don't recommend calling God a fool, just to be clear. And then I said, I'm not going to get those papers together, but I still want my fiance to be here by Thanksgiving, which at that time was maximum 2 weeks, 14 days away. It might have been even less. And then I said, but there was no or. What was I going to say? I'm going to abandon the faith. I remembered the phrase that the disciples said when all of the other disciples left, but he still had the core, the 12 there. And he said, are you going to abandon me too? And I'm pretty sure it was Peter who said, where are we going to go? You have the words of eternal life. So I did remember that. And I said, well, okay, I'm not going to abandon you, God, but help me out here. So long story short, a few days later, I got a call. That the papers had come through and she was going to be leaving for Madrid the following day to do some things in the embassy to get her her visa, and she was going to fly out in 2 or 3 days. I picked her up on Wednesday and we celebrated Thanksgiving together. And it was one of the most precious moments of my life to have that answer to prayer. And so apart from anything else I say, if you want to tell me that God doesn't exist, well, go pound sand, because obviously he does exist. But now let me tell you the rest of the story. When she arrived, she gave me the envelope that contained all of these papers and the approval and all of the papers that I had sent. She gave me the envelope that they had come back to her in, and I looked. I don't know why. I looked at the postmark, and it said that it had come from Nigeria. My fiance did not live in Nigeria. She lived in Spain. So I don't know how in the world all of this paperwork that I got together went to Nigeria instead of Spain, but apparently it was there locked up in the system somehow. And one thing that I really lament is that I did not keep that envelope. Dude, I should have framed that thing and in a gold frame, but I was young and stupid at the time. So I didn't notice the post, the date of the postmark. I noticed that it came from Nigeria, but I didn't notice the postmark to compare when it was sent compared to when I was praying. Probably they were very similar, but I also have to think that, well, to send something from Nigeria to Madrid and get up to, up to Spain and get to my fiance, probably is going to take a few days. So I wonder if when I was praying, that's when the thing got unblocked. So there we would have, obviously, God being not limited by space. He was in Wisconsin with me and in Nigeria with the papers. But it could be that all of that process, getting the papers moving, could be that happened before I started praying. Why? Because I'm here praying. No, I'm sorry. Here are the papers blocked in Nigeria. But here's God watching me pray some days later. And he said, he's going to show me that he's serious about wanting his fiancée to come. Maybe that was the whole problem. He wanted to know if I was really desirous. I was. So he saw me doing it. And so he said, all right, since I see him doing it on Tuesday, I'm going to unblock the papers on the previous Friday or something. So somebody could say, well, your prayer was useless because the papers were already on their way. No, for me, it shows clearly and concretely that God is also outside of time. He's not limited by any of that. So all of that to say that the Bible says in the beginning, God, and that means he is the one who is apart from the space, matter, and time, and he's not limited by any of those things. And that's why we can have a Bible, and why it is important, why he thought that it was important to give us the Bible so that we could learn more about him. And obviously, as we go along through our studies, we're going to learn more and more about him. I hope you'll join us. And that's all for today. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.